Okay, I'm
If you
here.
are here, okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Respected principal, Reverend Vice Principal, and our respected academic coordinator, IQAC coordinator, and the esteemed colleagues and our loving students. The growth of human brain was one of the remarkable events in the history of biological change. The larger brain seemed to be associated with increasing skill in using the hands and arms, and the slow rise of a spoken language. The spoken language was acquiring more and more words and more precision. The fine arts were emerging. The fine arts and the act of communicating by speech both rely on the use of symbols, whether those detected by the ears and the eyes. Perhaps a development in the human uh, voice box, our larynx, was also an aid to expressing these symbols and sound. Some scholars argue that human speech as a social activity, a way of bringing up the young, after which it was slowly extended to such other activities as the gathering of food or organizing a defense against a human or uh, animal enemy. Okay, whatever may be the fact, our human brain, uh, when it comes to the English language, it's like a river, a mighty Amazon among rivers springing from many sources and drawing nourishment from many tributaries. The conception of language as a kind of instinct was first articulated in 1871 by Charles Darwin in The Descent of Man. Okay. And many of our colleagues and our students may have heard the name of Noam Chomsky, who is currently among the 10 most cited writers of all uh, times, and beating out Hegel, Cicero, trailing only Marx, Lenin, and Shakespeare. Our guest today, Professor Shyamal Dash, is really a marvel and phenomenon in the realm of linguistic studies, and who is exclusively responsible to make this intricate science available to the colleges and universities. And his research work strides among fields like cognitive sciences, ELT, behavioral sciences, and archaeological archives when it comes to studies like synchronic and diachronic issues, which our professor will highlight soon. So, when it comes to uh, our human brain, we can say it comprises 200 billion neurons, that is equal to the infinite number of stars in the sky. As a matter of fact, language is a window to human mind. So, Professor Das's research is all encompassing in the field of social sciences, semantics, discourse analysis, and the most intricate of all, that is pronunciation. Now, I would like to request our dear Professor Shamal Dash to come up and educate us with his time tested and proven knowledge regarding language. Please, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Farooq and Dr. Uttam Chakravarti, and also the great my congratulations and then thanks to the father principal Benny, who happens to be one of my friends of I've met in life, and so also the other dignitaries and faculties and my dear students who are available on the screen and who are not. Okay, both. So yeah, we can hide our face from the digital presence, But for the sake of communication, we cannot hide our voice. And through the voice, we create speech in such a systematic manner that actually the speech tells us what is there in our mind. Without mind, we cannot communicate, and that will be nonsensical communications or some memorized sentences only, which does not lead to a natural communication scenario. So, you have Farooq has already mentioned that that is what they call Darwin's first discovery of the mystery of the human mind. It is something like which my dear students of all and then colleagues must be aware that there is a communication between mind and speech, and then actually speech is the production of the micro system of the that is of the mind. So, so that is unless the mind is perfectly available and then working rationally along with inputs from outside, which we get and get to learn about language, we cannot be successful communicators in that language. Okay, so that is the most important aspect of it. And then and I have Farooq have you have already mentioned the name of Professor, the great linguist, Professor Noam Chomsky. He is not only a linguist but also uh, that is a great thinker about a human future, and then he is also a great philosopher in modern times, particularly in political philosophy. So, a little bit of information to share with you is that, with my dear students, is that I was fortunate enough to have met Professor Chomsky when he visited India in 1995. For near about 40 minutes, I interacted with him on the stage in IFLU, that is English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. So I have been selected by my teachers to go and interact with Noam Chomsky when he asked for a student to interact with first, when he was talking about his theory of minimalism. Now, anyway, that is a these are all sidelined issues. So now let us come to the main issues. I would like to go off the screen for some time, so because I'm not that much expert in computer handling, so I will share some ideas of my own, and along with whatever I have got to learn about, that is this language studies. Okay, fine. Now, let dear students, this today's the topic and the of this workshop is function of language lab in linguistics development of both students and teachers in higher education institutions. Now, language lab is it will be a wrong notion to think that lab only takes care of the development of that is a performance aspect of language, how to speak and communicate and interact with people. But obviously, out of language is that is language is the means which holds literature also. So in our all our undergraduate colleges across the world, language and literature must go together. Okay, so, so I will be first talking about that is salient features of how a language lab can be utilized for the sake of development of performance aspect of language. And second, next I shall go into that is talking something about what for the as students of humanities and literature, what we can do in by using language laboratory. Okay, so let us that is discuss them. The first is in this is an age of what is called globalization, and in the globalization, English is the perhaps the only language which is accepted by people all over the world as a means of communication. Okay, that is across the world. Now that is one of the, and in addition, science has already science and philosophy, politics and the, sociology And all these different areas have also contributed to the creation of the concept of globalization, or what in Bangla is known as a Bishayon. Now, globalization has created a stipulation for people to learn the English language in the world. Now it is a stipulation, it's a condition that you must learn English. Now I am talking to you English. You must have your mother tongue. It's a various mother tongues. We that is a, when we talk in our mother tongues, it is very difficult to reach out to each other. But when we use a common language, we shall not call it a lingua franca as such, but however, a common means of communication, that is obviously English across the world. So in this age of globalization, English is very much essential for the students, especially pursuing higher education. The medium of English is playing a significant and a prominent role in Indian academics, and it signifies the importance of job seekers. Yeah, here is we learn English. Most of them, we are not native speakers of English. We have learned not willingly. During, remember, in our childhood we are forced to learn it because it is there in our syllabus. Some people got interested and they have got into it for study, but most of us studied it because it was there. Why English is there? I also used to have this question when in my childhood, that when I already have a language in which I can well call confident and that is I can comfortably communicate with, why should I go to take the trouble of learning another language? But since that is in the area of higher education, which will take you to the world, not to the your limited zone of your safe and comfortable life of your home, obviously we need a means in communication. And for human communication, that is if you go back in history, you will say that in course of our evolution, language is the only means which does not require literacy, okay, for communication with each other. Even animals also communicate amongst themselves, and for that they use one type of language. You must have seen that one species of animals, they use one type of sounds, and by that those sounds they get united. Others remain different, and by they have their own language. So that is if we can also think that human beings are also creatures who have the only creatures who have language, and as soon as I speak my so-called L1 or mother tongue, I get marked as distinguished as someone different from others, or that is one with others. So obviously that there lies the importance of as a means of communication, and communication not for the sake of communication only, not for unnecessary communication, for the sake of staying together and other purposes also we need communication. And for that the best means of communication is language, which does not require any extra, that is a means for communication. It is not a sign language, it is a sound language in which sounds are used in a very systematic and scientific manner to convey our meanings or communications. Okay. Now, this is English is very much necessary. Now, remember, we are talking in the context of India. India's main problem is that as of today, there is no denying the fact that we all are job seekers. Unemployment is a big issue in India today, and it was there, but it has for some reason it has gone up very high. But because of many reasons, I am not going into that one. But that is for the sake of job seekers. Job means, I mean, through the job I need to do some meaningful work for to my satisfaction, and also in return society will pay me for that, and so that I can survive as a human being or as a creature. So that is the necessity for a job. Now this is obviously, and as education is, we do not study in India for education for fun. Okay, it is not that is for just coming to the institute for the sake of fun. No, we come here and invest money by say paying different sorts of by paying for books, tutors, and tuition fee in the institutes, and your uniforms, and for everything our parents pay money for the sake of our future, our well established future. They want to see us well established, and we also want to see that. That is the necessity of job, if unless we are going into the area of opening our business in the name of entrepreneurship. Okay. Now, then, especially for rural students, it is very important to know English language. What is the problem? In India, there is a great divide between urban and rural areas. Students in the rural areas, they they suffer mainly because of their inability to communicate in a language which is accepted by the so-called system, that which is particularly dominated by the people in the urban areas, the urban people. For any job, when we go to get and appear in the interview board, that is, we see that the people who are taking the interview, very few of them come from the rural background, but most of them in the well settled or from the urban, that is area themselves. So they got the benefit of having English language almost as their mother tongue because of their urban background, non-rural. But the rural people are majority in India, and they will have to survive. And for that reason, that is the best way to me is that that is the demand of the society of everywhere is a communicative ability, and for that language necessary is, that is English, okay, for international purpose. So obviously, rural students need it more. I'm not saying that urban people do not need it or their mother tongue is English. No, they do it because they have the infrastructure to develop it even at home. But rural people are deprived of it, and for that, I'm that is I feel happy that that is Holy Cross College has come up with the idea of establishing a, that is language laboratory, and utilizing it for the sake of developing the language proficiency of the students. Okay, good. Now, now the fact is that why people choose English. There is another language that the main interest is that I need a job. So, but the fact is that, remember, in our rural areas, okay, we do not get inspiration for learning English because around us nobody speaks, nobody learns, nobody is there to help us out in how to, what is the importance of English, how to study it, nobody knows. So it is English is Greek for them. So obviously there is a lack of motivation. Most of our parents do not know what actually we are studying in college, what did we actually study in schools. If we get a pass mark every year after the in the final exam, then it's okay, successful, and the religious occasion is that organized. Now, so the lack of motivation and encouragement, and obviously leading to the lack of confidence, is one of the major reasons which create our that is our fear, that is for learning a foreign language, particularly English in India. Now, that is another thing is that most of us try, whenever there is a problem, we go back and coil back into the shelter of our mother tongue, just like a that is a snail. When a snail is normally moving, but when it is challenged with some problem, it will go back into its shell and hide itself. Okay, so our mother tongue works like a snail shell, and within that we want to take shelter. But however, that is not an a solution for the long run. Okay, for that is now this is English is all the more necessary for the sake of in this age of, that is a, it is a cliche of saying that in this is an age of science and technology, obviously science and technology, and for learning and picking up the latest ideas of science and technology, already English is the only language through which, that is we can easily access it, and it is the language through which communications take place in the area of science and technology for the sake of business, commerce, and industry, and all these things. Everywhere science is there. Now, that is why a large number of our students go into the area of science and technology for the sake of seeking, for the sake of interest as well as for the sake of their professional that is interest. Now for them also English is all the more necessary because they will have to communicate with the people, their clients. They do not call their students their clients, their that is nowadays that is the customers, that is institutes they call their students as customers, okay, and so clients. It is a entire commercial that is attitude and commercial culture is being imposed on us through that is through language. That is when if I go to an institute where there is a where is a part where is a party, where is a client, where is a customer, now obviously I know that there is a commercial interest is working playing the role here, not learning for and teaching. Okay, anyway, so for the sake of that is for that also professional students also need English or perhaps more than the other students. So digital language lab has a teacher control system. It has already been touched upon, and I hope my dear students will get to know better from you. That is, it is a what is digital lab? Digital lab is a teacher control system, where as Dr. Chakravarti has already mentioned that Holy Cross already has a laboratory where the master computer is there. From there that is some set of 20 computers are attached to with it, each of them, and the students will be sitting in the individual computers, and the master that is a trainer or there is an instructor will be teaching using the master computer, and through that and the teacher will be able to keep watch on every individual students and about their take care of their progress, and if there is any problem, that is they can directly stop and intervene that particular student, not the others, and there others practice as it is. Okay, this is what I have got the practical experience of it in English and foreign language of being a student over there for some time and using a language lab long back. Okay, nowadays, yeah, not now. So it is a teacher control system which is connected to each and every individual student and that is present in the laboratory. That is, it also contains a student control system and a headset with a microphone. A headset with a microphone, thereby every students can also have a problem while reading or articulating or unable to that is pronounce particularly. It takes care of not much of semantics but takes care of phonetics and articulation. If the students are articulating some finding something wrong, the teacher students can also communicate that is over phone personally with the teacher. Okay, not the other students in the class will be disturbed or we that is in the process. Teacher can observe, notice, keep watch on each and every student's practice and intervene to correct as and when necessary. That is the beauty of a language laboratory because we need language. Language is not a material to be studied as a theoretical aspect, okay, theoretical content, but it has its value is utility. Its value lies in use. So for using it, we need for using a language, we need to put it into practice, and that is why a language laboratory comes into the picture. And we are thankful to science that it has come up with the idea of a language laboratory. Now, next is in this context, English language laboratory. Obviously, or it is not English language laboratory. Language laboratory can be used for learning any language. However, that is obviously in Holy Cross College and across India, English is the language which is primarily that is which is not the that is a foreign language in India. It is a second language in India. So for that reason, English is given the primacy of being learned in India for the sake of global job opportunities across the world, and also not only job but for that is and the entrepreneurship also. So okay, yeah. Yes. So English, the language lab therefore is designed to provide learners with a strong platform for practical training in language. Practical. Now the question is that practical training. It is not something to memorize and write in the exam and pass through the exam. That is not the purpose of a language learning. Language I learn to use it. Okay. So that's why language laboratory has a strong role, and we are grateful to our the scientists, and they have come up with this idea. A good language lab skillfully and efficiently develops the language skills of learners. Now, what is language skill? A language is the learning of a language requires the learning a skill. Just like no one can, I can read any number of books on music and its grammar and all this, but unless I start practicing music with the under the that is observation of a teacher with the of a guide directly practically every day, I will not be a good singer, because singing is a skill. Just like suppose my dear students and others, that is if the all particular male female both nowadays, they that is they wish to ride a bicycle, but can I ride a bicycle without by reading a book? I need the bicycle. I need a place where I can ride it, and in the process there will be many accidents. Some bruises, some breaks, some bloods will come out here and there, but nobody gives up. Whoever has learned the skill of cycling, the riding a bicycle, they've got interested in it. Everybody, if I am not wrong, that is everybody has to undergo that one. Okay. So language is similarly a language learning has requires a certain skills, so which can should be acquired first, which should be mastered first. What are the four their languages? Four skills: reading, writing, that is what is it, that is there are four skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. Now that is what are these listening, speaking, reading, writing? Every human baby, that is it may not utter, it has a silent period within the first 6 months of the, it's a actually learning process. Language learning process starts from within the mother's womb itself. The when the baby becomes the brain is the becomes 6 months, that is weeks old in the after conception. So from that time onwards learning has started with by the baby inside the mother's womb. Now it continues even after it is delivered. It comes to the world. It continues. The silent period continues even for 6 months more, and gradually the baby starts moving the organs in response to whatever it is communicating with, whether human or any other things. So this is a silent period of learning, as well as gradually after 6 months responses start. Okay, first by physical movement, and gradually it will get converted into, that is through verbal communication by using the lips, because the mother and the other elders will be talking to it. So it will also try to imitate them. So the greatest one of the great means of our learning is imitation. So language therefore is learned as an imitation, but it is not nonsensical utterances by imitation. It must be controlled by the human, that is a brain, that is the what is it called, our psychomotor system of the brain, to be associated with sound, to be associated with the meaning, and then accordingly that is the language performance can take place. Okay. Now so that's why the language laboratory. So what is why listening and speaking first? LSRW, it's popularly known as an ELT, what is English language teaching. Listening and speaking, because first we start listening is in taking input from what the others are speaking around, or the from the circumstances, and the first response, it is stimulus response theory comes here in. That is when we get some input, we get interested to put it out. That is our expression is necessary, because impression is always followed by expression. Now impression means getting something pressed inside the mind, that is impression. And expression means when I am getting that press or pressure uh, out of me, I'm letting the world know through language, that is called expression. So every impression is followed by some expression. So the first two levels of input and output, impression and expression, is listening and speaking. For that, literature, which means reading and writing, is not necessary, because illiterate people also can speak and communicate with us. And interestingly, there is no difference between, as far as communication is concerned, between the literate and illiterate people. Okay. Now, second thing is, second two skills are, the third and fourth are reading and speaking. Just like by, that is just like by listening we get the input, by reading also get the input, and then we give it out as a form of output in the form of writing. So reading leads to writing, listening leads to speaking. So these are the four skills for learning a language. That is, otherwise, listen. Most of the people, so-called illiterate people, they cannot go to the schools and institutions to undergo a formal, that is a training for reading and speaking, for the two skills of language. But the other two, they are quite master of it. Okay, so that is language skills. That is now language laboratory can plays a big role in developing and helping the students and learners to develop the four skills of language. And once the four skills of language is acquired, that is, everybody, anybody is a master of his or her language. Now, that is, please do not that is, do not mistake that knowing a language means to become a linguist. No, linguist is scientific. It is a systematic study of a language as an object. Okay, just like a botanist is not the tree itself. Okay, something like that. Now, yeah, now come to the issue of language. English Language Lab enables the teachers to approach each student separately through a computer. That is, I have already discussed, through an audio-visual network. Now, what is audio-visual? Audio comes from the word, it refers to ear, that is to hear. Visual means when you can see something. Now, if I read a book, I get the concept. I am interacting with the author, and I may agree, may not agree, but most of us, that is, it is more difficult to go into reading and take for understanding something. But when I can see, for example, a film, what I am teaching, suppose I am teaching Shakespeare's Macbeth, and if I can read out in the class, and students will get bored, and most of the students do not get interested neither in Shakespeare's language nor in the concept of it. Things are a bit high and serious, so they do not get interested. And in addition to, there is the problem of the students remaining absent in most of the my classes, most of the classes. That is when I can make it a film in the form, and film uses the audio visual means. At one time, the audio part was not there, only visual ones is in the silent movies. But later on, audio has entered into this. So that's why audio visual means can make the story much more clearer. That is, I have got experience of it through my daughter's study. That is, what is there in the all the text she used to watch in the movie, particularly the plays and the dramas, and then even the poems also. She used to listen in the and discussion, listen the poem as well as the discussion of it on, that is, in computer. So that way it gives a better input and makes them more confident than that is going by other means. So that's why audiovisual network is very much necessary, because a student can hear, listen, as well as can physically appear and express his or her problems or ideas with the others, including the students. So, individual, and that is audio. The language lab helps, therefore, for every student to get and give individual attention and acquire a good standard of spoken language and quality pronunciation in quick enough, in a short period of time. Now, the question is that pronunciation is another practice, so we learn it by imitation. What is pronunciation? That is, when I am speaking English. Interestingly, every language, only letters we can see. that is letters, that is we can A B C D for English and O A Koko in Bangla, we can see them, but when I have to pronounce them, I do not know how to pronounce them. Earlier, a dictionary, good dictionary, used to use transcription system, and that is also a very difficult system. But if I can hear somebody is pronouncing a word like this, so at once it gets recorded in my brain how to pronounce it, rather than that is decoding the word and going through transcription and then acquiring it. You, those students of English, you must know that is, you go to advanced Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary, and there you will see transcription is there. Now transcription is another language, so you will have to know the transcription, that is transcription letters and the symbols, and to acquire a word. Now what to study? So to understand or read the word as it is, or to read the transcription part of transcribed part of it, a transcribed presentation of it in the dictionary. So all the both the problems can easily be at once be solved if we can get to know the input in the form of a in the form of a, that is in the audio visual presentation of the word, that is pronunciation help gets benefited through it. So yeah, Dr. Chakraborty, how much time do I have? Hello. Huh?
Sir, you can take as much time as you want. So,
Yeah, yeah. You can take time. We kept 1 hour, no problem. You can cross hour also.
No, no, that I will be going into half of the time will be in the literature. How to make the class the and that is a language laboratory that is interesting for the students for learning literature also.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, sir, please continue.
so so I will be briefly going through the language part, and then I will go into literature. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So language part, more or less, it also then in a language laboratory, students have the instructor, had the technical facilities of using a tape recorder, cassettes, and nowadays other means. But we can also use on the, you can see on the screen, we can in the computer, or we can use now newspapers, magazines, even movies, and pronunciation softwares, web articles can also be included in the interaction during the in the language laboratory. A teacher can take the initiative to guide the students and make them interested. Just every day studying the study books and textbooks is boring exercise. So we can lead to the other areas. Okay, and then okay. Hmm. Now Dr. Chakraborty, may I address, may I get to know from Dr. Chakraborty?
Yes.
Yeah, that is one of my students. He is asking, he has got the link, but you will have to allow him to join. Please check.
Actually, this is happening with all students, those who are from our college.
Hmm.
Actually, for this is for we cannot cross 100 seats. We
Okay,
already
okay.
have 100 attending here, so might be for this inconvenience is happening.
So
We are
you,
sorry
he
for
is,
that. Yeah.
mhm.
sir, if you
He
can
is,
name the individual, I will try to admit personally.
his name is Rakesh Nandi from Rishamukh. Was one of our old students of Tripura University.
Please, sir.
Okay, sir, I will check, sir.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you,
Hmm.
sir. Sure.
Ah, thank you. Yeah. Now, these technical aspects of the students familiar with, and these things, language laboratory aspect of it, language part of it, I think Dr. Chakravarti is trained and well conversant enough to deal with the students and having their problems in practically in the laboratory, okay, or any other teacher who is in charge of language laboratory as an instructor, okay. So this much is in brief. Language laboratory helps students develop more effective verbal communication skills and enhanced pronunciation capabilities. This is in sum. This is the activities of language laboratory, and how can it help us in developing our proficiency in communicative abilities in speaking. Now let us go into the, perhaps we also need to know about, as students of literature higher education, they study literary texts, and also they need to do something. After I have learned English, I have that is, I can speak, communicate, all these things. But next, automatically the pressure, or the, I will feel the pressure within myself. That is, can I do a kind of a bit of acting on the stage? That requires an extra necessity. Although I can speak English, I am reading, I am studying plays, I am reading different literary articles. So cannot I give it a kind of a presentation on the stage, or make it available easily to the students in the literary form? Obviously, I can. We can. Now, I will be reading out some, at least 10 different ideas, or ways, 10 different ways for creative English projects. What is creative? Language is not only for communicating. I am going to say something to somebody, but what is that something? That something will have to be, can be critical. I am analyzing somebody else, or talking, commenting, or critiquing something else. But at the same time, suppose I want to create, I am writing a poem, I am writing a play, I want to, I write, that is when I am writing, doing some sort of creative English. That can also be done, particularly using English language. That is not any other language also. Language can be used for creative purpose also. I am giving you examples of 10 creative projects of, in English, and understandably the means of communication here is English. Now, what are the things? The first one is book clubs. Book clubs means, club means that is a collective noun, that is a number of people stay, that is for doing something. This project will concentrate on verbal communication abilities. Verbal communication abilities, and request, the request that 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 is that the students choose. Now it is an instruction for the teacher to do in the laboratory. That's why it is in the imperative mode, imperative sentence form. That is, a teacher is expected to request the students to choose a book, and or an excerpt from a book to read, to keep communication streamlined, and assign genre. Okay. Now that is assign genre. That is, now, for example, how, if you are teaching students literature, obviously you do, and because you have undergraduate and postgraduate courses in English. Now for that, you give them any unknown text. Okay. And without a name of the author and the name of the that is a text, and ask the students to read it at home, or that is at on their own, and give it a name. What could be the name? Author is not necessary. If a student can give a name to a text, and that is that which is that is unanimous, that is who wrote it and what is the name, without that, and that shows the comprehension ability of the learner. Okay. So if they do it alone, they might get fear, afraid, and disinterested. So better to communicate. That is, you can, teacher can make a small group within the, and then within the language laboratory, ask them to read the textbook on the computer, or that is by some other means, and then the student can develop their critical ability to understand the text, and then also give it a name. That is a big growth for cognitive growth. India is lacking very much our students in modern times, particularly. So I have seen that they are master of learning things not written by them, by others, and that is why they cannot develop, they are lacking back in developing independent thinking ability. Okay. That is called cognitive growth. The cognitive growth is not taking place properly, and as a result, That is, they cannot later on become independent learners, or that is creators of anything, okay, including literature. Students can take turns providing a summary of their reading and along with their thoughts on it. They can discuss the moral values of the characters or alter endings, and that they can change. Suppose the story ends with that is the death of somebody. Students might feel that no, death should not be the death; it should be rather the something else. Okay, they can change it. If they feel like changing it, allow them to do it, to change the outline of the story. If they want to bring it to conclusion some other way, let them do it. Obviously, they have a reason for doing it, and that cultivating that rational power is our intention to teach them. Okay, literature is not meant for reading some concepts over it and memorizing and writing in the exam and getting a degree. No, that is not the purpose. Unless my brain is active, I am inactive. They can discuss the moral values of the characters and alter endings or events, and see if the plot and that is now they can, for example, those who have done Shakespeare. Okay, for example, my favorite author, Shakespeare's King Lear. Now, somebody has rewritten Shakespeare. That is in Europe, in America, that is in Britain itself, change that. Ultimately, Edgar and Lear's daughter Cordelia, they got married. Okay, and it ended in a comedy rather than in a tragedy, because students desire that they can easily get married instead of killing Cordelia and putting. And since Edgar becomes the, is it Edgar? Yeah, Edgar. Edgar becomes the ruler. Everything should have happened happily and rather in a positive mode rather than ending in a death of so many people. Okay, so we can change it because our brain does not accept things as they are given. We obviously have the right to change, think, and that is to think and change the things as they are given. I may not agree what the author has done. Hmm? So that is, we can create small, that is a book clubs within the, that is by along with the students of English in the language laboratory or outside it also. Now, autobiographies. In these autobiographies, you know, that is writing one's own life oneself. Okay. In this enjoyable project, you can, there is a, you means teacher can ask students to describe their lives in an interesting tone. Now, autobiography we easily teach in the institute, maybe in our syllabus, but students obviously will get will not be interested in it to know somebody has written his or her about his or her life. To make them practically interested in it, we can give them a task. Okay, not mandatorily or rather willingly or even out of joy, that write something about yourself, your life. That is whatever you think you remember about your life. So if we can make them 2 3 such projects under in the name of writing about themselves, their individual life, obviously they will get to know what they are studying now in the name of an autobiographical text. So that is how we can, it is a project, another project. And from for writing autobiographies, some pictures they can make on their own if they are good in painting, or they can collect, download some picture from the internet which sets into their idea at a boy playing in the, or a girl playing in the field, that can be easily downloaded. Now these pictures, writings, and then downloaded pictures can be compiled together. Now if the students can get the first hand experience of writing and his or about his or her own life, that is an autobiography of himself or herself, that is, it makes them easier to understand an autobiography which is prescribed in their syllabus. Am I clear? Okay. Now, that is to avoid, it avoids the monotony of learning what is imposed on you. See, that is there is a famous belief that in speak in Bangla, আমরা কাজে ফাঁকি দিই, প্রেমে ফাঁকি দিই না. So, to speak in English, translate it. And if something is imposed on us, on me as a duty, obviously I will be look for a chance to escape from it. But ask any lovers, whoever is in love, and for the first time or new love, they are never absent, never irregular. That is never. That is they never are late. Rather, they appear on the place half an hour or 1 hour ahead of time. So, if we can convert that is learning into love, obviously it gives better results. Students get more interested in it. Okay, so it and the monotony will not be there. Okay, monotony, you know the word monotony. To take a brief time out of you, there is a monotony means thereby, that is when the tone is singular, the same one tone only going on out of the seven tones. There is no escalation, no de-escalation, no changes. Obviously, that makes the things boring. So, learning should not be monotonous or boring, and we can do that only by bringing in changes of presentation and changes of that is interaction, as well as changes in methods of doing the things. Okay, yeah. And then next project is that class magazines. Class magazines means, you know, magazines is what is some creative compositions that is putting together in the entire class, or the entire class in putting in some creative compositions, and they will bring out a magazine, not for the institute, not for the entire class, that is but for the uh, yeah. So that is for the entire class. That is suppose the class standard 4, class 10, class 12. No, only for class 12, there is section A. So section A can bring a magazine. Okay, one room, one section, one group of students, limited number, and they can bring out a small magazine. And you can have inter-section competitions also. Inter-section present, not in the sense of competition. If this it says, just put in insert the idea of competitiveness amongst the children, they will definitely do better and get more involved in the process of learning. This is an class magazine is an excellent project for all middle and high school students, high school classes. Now, middle and high school, in our place, you are teaching in colleges. Don't that is take it otherwise. It can be done in schools also. You can take a that is a teacher can take it a step further by organizing a competition for the best class magazine among the students of the entire school. Yes, as you can see, give them a sense that there will be yearly, or there is a by there is a 6 monthly competition or 3 monthly competition, that is for producing the best class magazine amongst the students belonging to different classes. That involves makes ensured that they will not escape from learning at all, or committing themselves to the learning and performing. Okay, they can assign an environmental, that is you as a teacher can assign them any topic. They will say what to do about on it. It can be about environment, it can be about health, it can be about literature, it can be about social the themes of your to your class, the contemporary social themes, societal themes. Do not go into the areas like sensitive areas like which create interest in politics. No, do not go into. Other than also there are also problems of rural economy. How does a rural family survive without any job or any education in the family? Many educated people are also unemployed, but still that is how this is an area where the children can think about. If there is reading and writing is not their only thing they should be concerned about in the institute. They should be concerned about also what is their life and what how they can come out of it. Unless you come, we can get to know the problem which is troubling me. How can I think about the solution of it? So let them be practical, think about their own solution, and write up something. And in that is in the form of creative writing or critical writing, compile it together and bring it out in the form of a magazine. And that is how we can make them conscious students, okay, who are practical, who can be the leaders of the country tomorrow in giving it a direction. So you can assign an this that is yeah, that is yeah. So that is one thing. But obviously, students, you cannot ask. We cannot ask as a teacher to ask them a 10-page kind of things. So one page or maximum one and the 2-page article or something into 2 pages, that students will be able to enjoy it because it is not a big one. So they will be happily and joyfully doing it. Okay. And then comic strips. Another project is that making comic strips. You know, comic strips that is in the newspapers and that is in articles like things like Ananda Mela sort of things in magazines in Bangla and rather any other many ample English children that is children's magazines are there where comic strips are there. Now we can train them interested. That is a humorous students children learn humor and all of adult people also do it. Now if we can make it we can make them write it up and give it a formal step and thereby they can become a creative writer later on. Who knows that they can earn a great, they can find their own survival means through by writing, being a good writer of comic strips. Okay, that is of comic strips also, not necessarily serious writings. For children's literature, children literature is very popular worldwide. Okay, so we can show them the way how to do it. For comic tips also, they can do it in the language laboratory and start the idea and help take the help of the language laboratory and instructor inside or outside the laboratory, okay, in the institute. So this is also, so what this is another project that will not only win their student our students hearts but also allow you to you as a teacher to assess their creative abilities. Now how much creative a particular student is this is that is we can judge it when we allow them to do something freely. Now, in this regard, I would like to say that there is a proverbial story about it in Tagore's life. In Tagore, that is, he suggested that if we know to get to, if we want to know the intention, the nature of a particular person, or for here he was talking about two, three children, that is, give each student 5 rupees, 10 rupees each, 3, 4 students, and ask them to get this person separated and ask them to spend it as they like, give them total freedom. So important word is freedom of spending money. Normally children do not get this freedom of spending money. Elders buy it and elders buy it according to their choice, not necessarily at their decision, not necessarily as demanded by the children. So better give the 10 rupees or the amount of rupees, suppose 100 rupees to the children, to particular child, and see in the evening when they return what they have returned with. He has given examples of one student has returned as that is he said that I returned nothing, he said he has eaten everything. Another, that is the student has returned that he has returned with a book and the rest of the amount he has returned returned. Another student has returned spending nothing at all, entire money he has returned. Now take examples of these three. What do we get out of it? We can get to know that what is the orientation, the mental inclination of each of the children, that is separately. One not necessarily spends money but did not find anything worth buying. That's why money is not spent. Another is a kind of that loves to eat and has eaten the exhausted the whole money. Another person has written a book, bought a book with some half of the money or some of the money, and they returned the book. Now from this activity in the evening, we can get to know what is the mental orientation, who is going to be what of this out of these three children. So comic strips or rather this kind of creative activities help us to understand the teacher, that is what, who is meant for, who is mentally oriented for doing what. And if we can get to know it and we can encourage it, they will get involved in it, they will shine. By doing the things which are imposed from above unwillingly, it is not done. Many students mistakenly are put into the science, engineering, and many other things, but whereas they are mentally, they are not oriented, mentally, they are not interested to go into it. So, result is that they either do not complete it, or even if they complete it, they cannot, that is, do anything remarkable in life. Okay. So give them, the students, to the freedom, the choice of doing the things on their own, because this is time, or this was time rather, that is for the students for to understand the child psychology. Okay, no two children will be thinking alike, doing alike, which is our general expectation and which is wrong. Now, another project is that editorials or fun letters. Editorials, you know that in the newspapers, editorial is written by the editor of the newspaper. It is not written by any individual reader. It is not Pathakar, that is reader's letter. No, it is the editorials represent the entire paper, the authority of the paper. Okay. So he's an advanced thinker and advanced intellectual. So editorials writing can also be practiced in the institute. That is, if we allow the children to use the computer sitting in the, that is in the language lab, they can easily do it. Editorial is one of the best English projects ideas for higher school students. Again, they are talking about schools. That is, they can be used for college also. We can introduce writing the students to write an editorial for a paper. These practical things are necessary. These are the need of the hour, because we need to go out of the beaten track routes of, that is, acquiring knowledge. So the fan letters, that is also fan letters. The fan letters means, whereas fan letters are appropriate for students of all English proficiency levels. Now fan letters mean thereby, that is the writing letters to friends, okay, or readers. Imagining somebody as a reader of my paper, I am the editor of the paper, so I am writing a letter to the, that is this is a kind of sort of writing letters to friends also in an informal way, that can also be, that is used or utilized for the sake of developing the language proficiency of the students in English language proficiency or any other particular language proficiency. Okay. And then there is ask your students to research on societal issues that is important to them. They must then define the problem from the perspective of aggrieved parties and all these things. Request your students to write the issue and have it published in a local or national newspaper. Okay, these are done. Perhaps in Holy Cross itself is done, and some other schools it is being done. But these are very in thing nowadays, necessary for the society. Okay, for the time. Innovation inventions. Another English project that will combine societal and practical understanding with English learning is invention. For this, students will gain problem solving skills through this project. Now, if a particular text is prescribed in our syllabus, and then its outlines are given, and the teachers, that is help them in writing the answers, so their students collect the answers from where, and then they memorize it and write it and get the pass in the degree, get the degree. But they are not becoming problem solving creators, students. There will be hundreds of such problems in life. In the name of examination, students should develop the courage and the strength of mind to be able to solve problems. We frighten our students by talking that you will fail in the exam, but exam is there in every step of life for the rest of their life also. Now, if they do not develop a strong personality to face the problems of life itself, they will get shattered mentally, if not physically. Okay, and then there is fables. Now, the next thing is that fables. For these fables, that is writing, that is stories of some kind of imaginary stories. For this open-ended English writing project, students will choose one event from their lives. This event should be both intriguing and educational. They can educational. They and then sorry. They must retell the story in third person pronouns. Now, third person pronouns. Something happened to a particular girl. Suppose that is a particular girl during her childhood. Something has happened, but she should not say that I was doing this and my he said this. No, not no I. Use it she, not I. She should be using because she's using it she, a girl. The girl was using doing like this. So ask them to use the use of pronouns. Okay, in a third person narrative, and in a third person narrative, or in the form of a fable, that is a storytelling exercise. They can become creative artists even in this area also. And we can request ask the students to keep the tone conversational and engaging. That is, if I take them, I am writing a story. If we can keep there is a narrative or the write up in the form of a dialogue, and that will make the students interested in their syllabus topics. Something about that is a drama. What is a drama? Without a dialogue, two persons not interacting, it is a kind of description. Okay, the descriptive account, narrative or descriptive account. But when we talk about interactive and dialogue forms, then it becomes dramatic. So students can become a drama, a playwriter themselves in whatever forms, and they can get the first hand experience of what does a play do even when they are writing a story. You can get it by giving lectures. How much we can tell them, that is a what a drama, that is a what a story, what a novel. And as a, how do I differentiate between a drama and a novel, and that is a novel, and the novel and a short story? Let them do it practically. First of all, the data should come, and then let me theorize, rather than doing the other way around. That is a deductive method, that is first memorize what is a tragedy and then give the examples. No, read the plays yourself, or stories yourself, or the essay, that is novels yourself, and then you give the conclusion, which one is ending in which way, and that gives you, that is a better way of understanding and learning, rather than deductive method of first memorize the definition and then give examples. No, first deal with the examples without knowing the definition, and then write the definition. That is a general characteristics of whatever you have read so far. That is definition. Okay, and then next topic number 8 is imaginary pen falls. Pen fall is friends. Paul is friend. So imagine pen falls by writing. And so nowadays you see that is there are Facebook friends, and all these things ultimately lead to marriage and affair, and all these things also happen without knowing each other and seeing each other. Okay, now nowadays this is the computer can help us, that is in the language laboratory, can help us, that give us the basic inputs. Nowadays having a computer and a mobile is mobile, everybody has computer, almost everybody has nowadays. Okay, that is that they can imaginary pen falls, it pen friends also we can make. This activity requires students to write letters to their favorite fictional or non-fictional characters. Imagine a character as your friend, and then write a letter to it out of absolutely out of imagination. That is, and that imagination means that the writer will have to think that what can happen in reality. That gives a big idea also for becoming a creative writer. In a given novel or historical account ask them and to identify an era, that is the period, the region, the settings that they enjoy the most. Okay, and they would then express interest in one of its characters and explain why. And finally, that is it is literary criticism. They can read any text and then ask them when it happened, where it happened, you think that is no practical name is there necessary, settings, and why it happened in the life of that character. That is what is critically understanding the events of a fictional story. That is what we do in literary studies, and we can make them good critics of literature. Okay. Next project is book trailer project. What is book trailer project? After finishing a book, students in middle or in high school or colleges can participate in a book trailer project. What is the book trailer project? You know, the film trailers are there. Trailer is a brief version of something to make the audience know what is going to come in the film. So give a book or that is a novel in a brief trailer form, in a short form, so that they can get. It's writing a summary, which is a digital and storytelling activities. So it is not by writing it and showing it, but it is by using computer laboratory, also language laboratory. Also, they can write up and give it an physical that is animated version of it, and it is a kind of book trailer for making the students for the readers interested in it. Okay. uh, yeah, making book trailers with the students is a great way to incorporate technology into the classroom while also encouraging reading. So, use this, I told you, in this age of science and technology, in fact, language laboratory itself is an creation of science and technology. So, we can use the inputs of technology, the benefit that is discoveries of the technology, making by for doing all these projects, particularly for the students of literature. And remember, we should not forget that all our students, that is, all our great writers were not all students of literature. They were, some of them were not at all. For example, right now I am reading that is a book written by a student who has given up medical science in the fourth year to become a great poet and a novelist in Bengali. Okay, you will get many such characters. Okay, many such examples. Digital storytelling is another. In the digital storytelling project, students create narrative using multimedia tools like video, audio, and images. They script, produce, and edit their stories, enhancing their storytelling and digital skills. The final projects are shared with the class or online, showcasing their creative and technical abilities. This is a nice example for the students who are advanced students. Obviously, your students are very advanced and they're knowledgeable in the area of science and technology. Okay, and using it and applying it for the sake of their fun as well as survival and creative, that is creative art. Now, these projects are an essential component of English language instruction. Now, this is what is it. I am teaching them at the beginning. I told you, language laboratory is not for learning, teaching them how to do phonetically pronounce a sound and use it according to the native speakers of that language. That is English. Now, in addition, I can contribute something from my own as sort of, and which will make it an original work rather than a simple copy master of the English people. These project activities are an essential component of English language instruction. For teaching English language, also the teacher or instructor can utilize them because they are already doing the literature, many topics, genres they are studying, and we can create them, use them. And if I can make, as suppose a baby is playing with toys, and then if before that playing with toys, and in rural areas quite common to use the earth, the mud for the babies to make a putul. Okay, nowadays teddy bears have come, but first of all, if a baby can get to learn, that is a make, it will not be, may not be done rightly to begin with. There is that is a mud toy, but the child will develop the art, develop the cognitive power, that why it has gone wrong, where it has gone wrong. Creative ability develops there also. By doing mistakes also, we learn something. Projects will These projects will liven up our lessons and ensure that our students leave the classroom wanting more. They will be waiting for to learn more. They will never escape from class intentionally. And if when they intend that is a leave classes when they get disinterested in it. Okay, if we can keep the students mentally involved in our activities within the classroom as well as in the language laboratory, our students will learn better. Thank you for your patient listening of whatever I have said. Sorry. Yeah. Now over to you.